We have mourned for Socrates at this point, and it is time that we move on with our lives and learn something new about something familiar. And we're going to be checking out Drawn of History, which Rachel, who's one of our channel members who joins us quite frequently, let me know that Drawn of History is the second channel of a guy named Mr. Bet. Not Mr. Beat, not Mr. Beast, Mr. Bet, who is like a pretty popular history YouTuber guy that I was familiar with his existence, but I'd not checked out any of his stuff yet. Nothing against him. I just never got around to checking any of it out. And then I guess Rachel brought me to his attention, and he reached out to me and gave me his blessing to check out some of his videos, which, you know, that feels good, having the blessing of the creators whenever I speak to like Mr. Beat or Mr. Bet. It makes me feel good about checking out their stuff. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of something we started last week, which is the America's Dumbest War, which is the War of 1812. We did part 1 last time. I think the clip is out now on the channel. I think I've clipped it out of the stream, and it's its own video now. If you haven't seen it, it's there. So now we're going to be doing part 2. So I'm pretty excited about this. The War of 1812 is incredibly interesting. It's got layers. So there's no reason not to get it started at this point. Let's do it.
On Drawn of History.
One day, Canada. It's 1776, and the 13 colonies were tired of being simps for England. Great Britain has recognized us as a free and independent nation, something that they will never forget or ever try to question. So between the aiding of Indians, the impressment of men, and the orders in council, America kinda wanted to go to war with England. We could grab Canada. I'm coming, baby. Let's go to war. England.
So yeah, it as far as like wanting to go to war, this is by a much more narrow margin than most wars have been supported by in the United States. Like this is a pretty darn narrow margin of people that actually want to go to war with the British at this point. There is a pride issue. American pride is genuinely hurt. The British, I feel like, underestimated how much they were hurting American pride with the impressment of soldiers on American ships. Even when things are made right, the means. It's not the ends, it's the means. It's the fact that they felt that they had the right to search American ships indiscriminately that hurt the American pride, and hurting someone's national pride, you're asking for trouble. So it should be an interesting conversation once we get started.
Repealed the orders in council. Maybe this war wouldn't be needed after all.
Too late.
Fuck you. Let's do this. Hey, Dolly, we just declared war on
Dolly
Britain.
Madison,
Wow,
yay.
that's exciting. Wait a minute. You and what army?
The U.S. Army.
We have an army?
No, they really didn't. At the start of the war, the United States had an army of about 7,000 men. That's it.
So George Washington and John Adams wanted to like build the American military and navy, while Thomas Jefferson kind of gutted it, and he wanted it to kind of go back to a more localized militia presence. So yeah, we are not at our most powerful. We're in a better position than we were at the beginning of the American Revolution, but you got to think that in this war, we don't have the same level of outside help as the American Revolution, as we had during the American Revolution. And I don't think the enthusiasm is there at the beginning. Like, people are mad, but I don't know if the enthusiasm's quite the same.
See, early America didn't really like the idea of a standing peacetime army. It sounded very kingish to them. If things did pop off, that's what militias were for, to defend and keep the peace if need be. It's right there in the Second Amendment. I feel like people might focus on the second part too much. Maybe I should underline the first part. Nah, it's crystal clear and can...
Yeah, the Second Amendment. Hold on one sec. Sorry. A well-regulated militia being necessary to secure to the security of a free state. That part is often ignored. It's not necessarily a policy in the in the Bill of Rights. It's not really. It's kind of like a recommendation, which is kind of weird. The phrasing is very strange. It's not like you have to have a well-regulated militia. It's like, yeah, because we all universally accept that well-regulated militias are necessary to securing a free state, because this is like the late 1700s, and we got and we just kind of come together and universally agree that therefore the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. But this first part, it's weird, the language of it. It is like a recommendation. Like, yeah, you should probably have a well-regulated militia.
Second part too much? Maybe I should underline the first part. Nah, it's crystal clear and can in no way be misinterpreted. America's Navy wasn't in much better shape either. Whereas Daddy of the Ocean Britain had 100 ships of the line and 200 frigates, the United States had, let me see.
They had the most powerful
zero
Navy.
ships of the line and 7 frigates. They also had a handful of brigs, a few schooners, and a couple of fanoodles. Luckily, Napoleon was still being the little pain in Europe's big butt, so the Americans wouldn't have to face the full might of the British military. Yet.
That is one of the things I should certainly have noted. Like I said, we didn't have the same help that we had in the American Revolution, by which I meant like direct help. Like the French aren't coming over to literally fight our battles for us this time. But they are fighting the British overseas, which means their attention is divided. So we do have that going for us. Like, if we fought, like, a little later on, who knows what would happen. But America is still very young. It's only 1812. We haven't been around all that long. We're still growing. And this is kind of like an angsty teenage phase. Like, you're not my real dad, I can do what I want, sort of thing.
Still, organizing any American war effort was gonna be difficult. Communication was slow. Dial-up internet slow.
You've got mail.
At the isolated yet strategically valuable American Fort Mackinac, Commanding Officer Lieutenant Porter Hanks only found out about the war when... Wake up! Hello, Americans, do you give up? Oh, give up? What? Oh, fart. British forces in the war might have been fewer, but they were good. Aided by Canadian militias, the British regulars were well-trained and their officers battle-tested. Of note was Major General Isaac Brock, who was like every positive trait of Disney princes Frankensteined into one person. He was so likable that men wanted to be him, women wanted to be with him, grandmas wanted to feed him, manja manja, and artists wanted to draw him. And he needed to be, because he had the task of getting Tecumseh and his Confederacy to ally with the British once again. Why should we? So you can abandon us again like you did after the War for Independence? Why should I trust you? Because like you, I've been a warrior my entire life, and give you my word as such. Let's play a game, all right? On the count of 3, name your biggest threat here in North America. Don't even think about it. 1,
The Americans.
2, 3. United States.
The United States, yeah.
Relative killed by the
That's how they would
Americans
think
during
about
the
it.
Revolution. Older brother. If you were a chick, who's the one guy you would sleep with? John Stamos. What? Did we just become best friends? Yup. You want to go kick some American butt? Yup.
Dude,
The strategy
That
of
was
the
a
British
Step
was
Brothers
basically
thing,
to
right?
defend Canada. Good strategy considering the Americans planned a 3-point invasion of their northern neighbor. But first,
hey
an
Rachel,
American
thanks for
officer
joining
was
us.
sent to test
I'm glad you're here for this segment. I know it's one that you're particularly attached to.
out the theory that Canadians would welcome the Americans as liberators with open arms. My Canadian brothers, we, the United States, are here to free you from the tyranny of Great Britain.
They They don't see it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to go with that invasion plan. First, they would invade Canada from Detroit in August. Outside Fort Detroit, Brock, having few
This is a campaign that we don't really learn about all that much in the United States. Very rarely do we even get a whole lot of depth on the War of 1812 in general, at least in my personal experience. You can only focus on so many things. The War of 1812, I guess, is one of those we never got as much attention paid to. And when we did, there was kind of some deceptive layers to it. I've had a few teachers cover the War of 1812 pretty well, though. But overall, the Canada campaign is not one we really do all that much. We often jump towards the controversy around kind of the end of the war with like Andrew Jackson, which in itself is incredibly interesting. That's probably a part 3 thing.
British soldiers knew he was outnumbered. To fix this, Brock dressed the militia up like lobsterbacks to make them seem more intimidating. He also learned that the American General William Hull was deathly afraid of Indians, so he had Tecumseh march his men in front of the fort 3 times to make them look more numerous. It had the desired effect. Hull surrendered the fort and his men shortly after. In November, 6,000 American soldiers and militiamen were tasked with taking Montreal. They were led by Major General Henry Dearborn, former Revolutionary War hero and current Mrs. Doubtfire doppelganger. Hello! The invasion failed when half the troops refused to invade, and the half that did ended up in a fierce battle with each other. The most noteworthy of the 3-point invasion happened 1 month earlier when the Americans, led by General Stephen von Rensselaer, tried to cross the Niagara River into Upper Canada. The Americans were briefly able to take Queenstown Heights before being pinned down by First Nation warriors and British reinforcements. As well as this being the first real contest of the war, the Battle of Queenstown is remembered for one heroically tragic loss. After the Americans had gained control of a cannon overlooking the escarpment, Brock personally led a daring charge to get it back. All right, chums, let's do this!
Oh no.
Isaac Brock!
I'm kind of scared.
Are you all right? What's wrong? I felt a great disturbance in the force, as if one beautiful voice suddenly cried out in terror and was suddenly silenced. I fear something terrible has happened. Despite repelling the first real attempt at invading Canada, Britain had lost one of its best
Canada actually still celebrates their minor win against us during the war. I know! Anytime I talk about the War of 1812, the Canadians come out and they find a reason to get mad at whatever I say. Like, I get it. You kicked our butt, like, every time we tried to take Canada. I admit that up front. If we tried to take Canada today, we would somehow find a way to lose. I don't know why they're still mad at me.
officers, and Tecumseh had lost his best ally. The 1812 invasion of Canada turned out to be a wet fart, so you can imagine how bad the war at sea was going. And you would be wrong. The Americans finally scored a W when the USS Constitution whooped the derriere of the HMS Guerriere and earned itself the nickname Old Ironsides after British cannonballs bounced off of it. How was this possible? First mate, activate the secret weapon!
Shut up,
Still,
come
the
on.
first year of the war had been generally
Okay, that
terrible
was
for
funny.
the Americans, and President Madison looked forward to improvements in 1813. Secretary of War Armstrong, I have to say, I feel good. It's a new year, a new war. Anything new to report?
Yeah, we just got massacred at River Raisin.
Oh, fart.
Oh,
Out
man.
west,
This is also a case where the leadership may not be the best for this sort of conflict. Like Madison is not a military dude. James Monroe, I'd trust, who comes after him and plays a big role in this, and some of the stronger roles in this. Hold on, the bird's being a jerk. Hey, you little, stop eating paint chips, you little freak. He's the worst. He's being a little troublesome. What was I saying? Oh yeah, James Monroe plays a huge role in the later portion of the war, and I would have trusted him with this, but James Madison, he's a man of ideas. He's a man of governing. He's not a man of war. I'd trust him to write legal documents or whatever. I don't know if I'd trust him with troop movements. He's just not the guy for that.
William Henry Harrison, on a mission to retake Detroit, dug in at the newly built Fort Meigs. Tecumseh and Isaac Brock's replacement, Henry Proctor, laid siege to the fort. But to Tecumseh, the whole thing felt weird. So what do we do now? We wait. We just wait? We don't attack? Old chap, you have much to learn about modern warfare. Now, the entire run of BBC's Dribbleshins of Derbyshire just came out on Netflix, so you know where to find me.
2 weeks later.
Well, that's done. Time to pack it in, chaps. Wait, you're just leaving? Yes, well, they're not giving up, and I'm out of crisps. Let's go, gentlemen. Oh, Isaac, I could really use you now. Back in the Atlantic,
He'll be missed,
things
I'm
weren't
sure.
going well for the Americans. You had a massive blockade, and on June 1st, the USS Chesapeake had the cojones to engage the HMS Shannon. Mortally wounded and at death's door, the Chesapeake's captain, James Lawrence, told his crew, "Don't give up the ship." And then his men immediately gave up the ship. But this message was not lost on Captain Oliver Hazard Perry. Perry was tasked with taking Lake Erie, the key to successfully invading.
I like that this focuses big time on the Canadian campaign. It is providing something that I think a lot of Americans could really benefit from learning about. It's like, hey, here's the international conflict. Now we're fighting. Burn the White House down. Andrew Jackson. Like, we need a little bit more than that. So I kind of appreciate this. I'm learning some stuff. Oh yeah, Tippecanoe, of course, Tippecanoe.
in Canada.
Can't leave
so
that
he
out.
built a fleet
Tyler
on the
too.
lake and went up against the Brits in his flagship, the USS Lawrence. Don't give up the ship, boys! Captain? I meant that ship, the Niagara! Don't give up that ship! Let's get out of here. Perry and his ships had defeated the British fleet, gained control of the lake, and opened the door to an invasion of Canada. This prompted British General Proctor to abandon Detroit. Where are you going? Back to Canada. We have to protect our land. What about my land? I thought we were allies. I know, right? An Englishman abandoning his Indian allies could knock me over with a feather.
Okay, that was good.
Run no more. We take a stand here together. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home. Isaac? Tecumseh, they finally get you? Yeah, your people abandoned us again. I had a feeling. Who's that guy? I don't know. Apparently it's reference humor and some people find it funny. With the death of Tecumseh, individual tribes were forced
Kinda
to sign
funny.
peace agreements, and the widespread destruction of Indian cultures at the hands of American expansionism would truly begin.
We're
By
not
the
even
fall of
at Andrew
1813,
Jackson yet.
America was finally ready to give invading Canada another shot, again trying to invade Lower Canada with the primary objective of taking Montreal. This invasion failed yet again, partially because 1,000 New York militiamen refused to actually cross the border, partially because the American officers in charge, Hampton and Wilkinsons, hated each other on a Real Housewives level, but mostly because of French-Canadian Lieutenant Colonel Charles de Salaberry and his defensive force consisting completely of Canadians,
What's Colonel Charles Michel de Rumberry de I like that he did the short version because I probably shouldn't have even tried.
Salaberry and his defensive force consisting completely of Canadians, militiamen, voltigeurs, Indians, the kids in the hall, all Canadian. Now, invading Upper
Hell
Canada
yeah.
had gone a lot better in 1813. In fact, American forces were able to take York, then capital of Upper Canada, which they burned to the ground. There's those weird shadows again. And by December, they took Newark, the former capital of Upper Canada, and burned that to the ground too.
Aw,
Again, with
man.
these four shadows. And to top it all off,
I love that
Madison
bit,
received
though.
word on December 30th that the British were open to peace negotiations. Dolly, I have to say that the war is finally turning in our
Dolly!
favor, provided circumstances don't change in a sudden and drastic way. And then circumstances changed in a sudden and drastic way. By April of 1814, Napoleon had abdicated the throne, freeing Britain to attend to other matters.
No. Okay. So yeah, there we go.
Sometimes I wish I could boldly go where no man's gone before,
Oh, Miss.
but I'll probably stay here
Oh,
in America.
Mr. Terry was
What are you
John
thinking
Armstrong.
about?
Cool.
Watching another Drawing of History video by clicking over here. Definitely subscribing, maybe even supporting it on Patreon. Did you ever find Bugs Bunny attractive when he put on a dress and played Girl Bunny? No. No, neither did I. I was just asking.
Okay. So that was really fun. So if you guys are enjoying these, I will do, well, either way, I only got one more part to do, so I'm going to do that one next week. This is like the series that's going to carry on from week to week, me checking out the Drawn of History stuff, which I really enjoyed. I think it'll be fun to see. Oh, is that an Infinity War? No, Endgame. Endgame. There we go. It even says it right there. You see how familiar I am with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that was really, really cool. I love his style. His humor's incredible. The crude nature of the art is really cool. I love how he has one or two like amazing jokes. The Four Shadows thing that he could tell like a million times and I'd still find it funny. I don't know if I'm just easy, but I think for some reason that one kills me every single time.